Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of the Two Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host, Ari Stamatakos. Season 2, no that's not it, Season 3, Episode 2, as the camera just cut out. It was cutting out pre-recording. This is the second take of this. I really hope it doesn't do that again, so if there's watching on YouTube I apologise. Hopefully it'll be fine. I think it might be when I move or when I knock the table, so I'll try not to do that. But we'll power through. We'll power through some technical difficulties. I apologise for that once again. But I'm back. I return, as I always do, every week. The second episode of Season 3. And all of a sudden, the Premier League season is creeping up on us. And it's here. It's like, am I happy with it? Yes. Would I have preferred maybe 2 or 3 more weeks? Maybe so as well. It's come around really quickly. I have no idea. I'm not going to say I have no idea. I have some idea, but I'm very far behind in terms of knowledge. So I will catch up over this next week, and I'll know my stuff heading into the first game week. But there's a lot to speak about as football is well and truly back in the swing of things. The Championship is back. Some other cup competitions are back. Community Shield happened, which we'll speak about that as well. We'll speak about the Community Shield. So yeah, it's going to be a very fun time. But before we start, hope everyone is well. I hope everyone's weekend or week has treated you guys nicely. I appreciate the support. Back on the podcast, obviously taking a sabbatical throughout the off season. Didn't do any off season pods. Didn't do any transfer update pods. I needed the break. So interesting to see the reception when I did come back, and the reception was very positive, and the reception was very nice. So I appreciate that thoroughly. Yeah, it does mean the world, and it gives me more motivation to do this every week, which is very nice, of course. But a lot to speak about. I hope everyone's well. Like I said, I hope the work's treated you guys nicely. Make sure you follow all the podcasts on all related social platforms. Relevant social platforms. That's what it is. So yeah, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. 2 Foot Tackle Pod on all of those. You'll find out all 2 Foot Tackle podcast needs are on those 3 socials. All relevant links to everything are in the description of YouTube, and of course audio platforms as well for those watching on YouTube. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Anchor. Even if you're a YouTube watcher / listener, just go over to Spotify, just play it overnight, or just play it when you're like cooking dinner or something, and then just leave it on mute. You don't have to listen to it. Just go to play, follow it, 5-star rating, all that good stuff. It does mean more than the world. But I digress. We will move on with a lot to speak about as a car drives really loudly past my house. So apologies if that's picked up on the mic. But obviously Women's World Cup action is still kicking about, which is good. A lot to speak about. Matildas playing tonight. Annoyingly, again on a Monday night. So I will record this without knowing the result, and this will come out with everyone knowing the result of it, which is annoying. But anyway, I'll give my review of the Canada game, and I'll give my soon-to-be very redundant preview of the game against Denmark. So there you go. I'll give my brief Premier League predictions. Normally, this time last year, I gave a really in-depth Premier League predictions. I'm not doing that this year. I want to just give a far more of a superficial preview. Like I said, in an attempt to condense these episodes, in an attempt to get more episodes or get more content in each episode, I'll keep it condensed. But I've got my ladder 1 to 20, so we'll speed run through those. Player of the season, Golden Boot, Young Player of the Year, Manager of the Year, maybe Touch Transfer of the Year, and other avenues of speaking about the Premier League. Championship is back. Some things happened over the weekend or over the last couple of days. When it comes to that, Australia Cup football is back, so we're coming back down under. Saw this funny thing on Twitter about Tottenham, which is actually objectively funny. I'm not just taking the piss out of Tottenham, it's objectively funny. And then, of course, Community Shield, and then we'll give our preview of the week. So, quite a lot to get through. Let's kick things off with the Women's World Cup, of course. Home soil Women's World Cup, and it's been a very entertaining it's been a very entertaining week since we last spoke. All the group stages are done. First couple of round 16 games are done as well. So we'll give a quick wrap up of the groups before we move on to the round of 16. Once again, I know it's redundant. That's just how these podcasts fall, unfortunately. But So yeah, obviously in Group A, which we covered on, Switzerland, Norway, go through, New Zealand and Philippines crash out. Disappointing for New Zealand being one of the host nations, but it was pretty expected kind of result from that. Australia, Nigeria, Canada on Ireland. So Australia and Nigeria go through, Canada and Ireland out. Very surprising there, obviously Canada being in the top 10 in the world, being knocked out at the hands of Australia, if you want to look at it that way. So yeah, it was a good, comfortable 4-0 win for the girls, which we'll touch on a little bit later. Japan, Spain, Zambia, and Costa Rica. I think that was pretty much a standard kind of massive, like a standard result. Everyone knew that was going to happen. Group D, England, Denmark, China, and Haiti. I'm pretty sure this was quite mainstreamed and quite streamlined. I don't think that China were within a shout. I know China have a pretty good women's team, but I think Denmark maybe. I think Denmark were the favourites. Don't quote me on that. Well, not favourites, but one of the favourites get through after England. Group E, Netherlands, USA, Portugal, Vietnam. This group provided some drama, didn't it? Especially towards the back end. Obviously, it was the USA-Portugal game. USA needed to get a point to get through in the group, and I think Portugal needed a win, and they hit the post in the 90th minute. It was a Crouch to Defoe-esque big forward, little forward kind of matchup. Knocks it down, first time strike, or it might have been second time strike. I can't remember. It just clattered the bottom of the post, which was heartbreaking for Portugal. Heartbreak for Portugal. But yeah, it would have been really funny to see USA get knocked out in the way that in the group stage. But as we'll touch on, it was even funnier the way that they did get knocked out. Group F probably provided the biggest shock. France going through, that wasn't really a surprise, but Brazil crashing out. Marta's final World Cup ends in failure, ends in heartbreak, ends in disappointment as Jamaica go through with a goal difference of 1 and 1 goal score and 1 goal scored and 0 goals against. 2 0-0s and a 1-0 win. A 1-0 win sandwiched between 2-0 all draws. Yeah, it's just the drama of the World Cup, eh? Just the drama of the World Cup. The fairy tales don't exist in football, so it was obviously quite dramatic to watch that Jamaica-Brazil game as well. That was at Amy Park, wasn't it, as well? If I'm not mistaken, yeah, it was. Yeah, at the Melbourne Rectangular Stadium. My apologies. So, that was obviously fantastic drama. Heartbreak for Brazil, heartbreak for Marta, who Brazil obviously probably weren't the favourites, but were expected to go quite far in the tournament, especially past the group stage, considering it was Jamaica's. I think it was Jamaica's first tournament as well, so just one of those things. Group G, Sweden, South Africa go through, Italy, Argentina go out. I think this was both Italy and Argentina's first time at the Women's World Cup, I think. Don't quote me on that. Yeah, don't quote me on that, because I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, Sweden obviously went through quite comfortably, as a lot of people expected them to, and arguably one of the bigger shocks about this group stage is Group H. Morocco go through, Germany out. Germany, one of the favourites, made the Euros final. If I'm not mistaken. They did make the Euros final, didn't they? Right? Surely, I'm convinced. I'm convinced they did. Yeah, they made the European Championship final against England and lost. And a lot of people went into this tournament thinking, yeah, Germany are going to be very hard to beat, especially coming off the back of that heartbreak in the Euros. Going to be looking for revenge. Obviously, they've got arguably one of the best pure strikers in the tournament with Alexandra Popp, who scored 3 goals in, or was it 4 goals in 3 games? She was on fire. She was on fire, 3 goals in 4 games, playing kind of in that 9/10/out wide. She was playing a hybrid role, I think, in that final third. But she was probably one of the best out and out goal scorers, one of the better out and out goal scorers at this tournament, and obviously scoring 3 goals in 4 games. You'd expect that your side to get through if you score 3 goals in 4 goals in 3 games, I should say. But no, it was Morocco, first international tournament, first Women's World Cup, I should say. I'm pretty sure as well. We saw what their men's team was able to do in Qatar, and their women's team has maybe not replicated it. We'll see whether or not they were able to go. We'll see whether or not they can get all the way to the semis. but they've captured the hearts of the nation in a very similar way, in a very, very similar way. So the scenes for that game were immense, like a lot of drama behind it. Obviously, the South Korea Germany game was happening at the same time. That game was at Suncorp, of course. And then of course they cut to the Morocco Colombia game at in Perth, which was a very good split screen, very good kind of yin and yang about the whole thing. Seeing the two different emotions of the teams was very cool to see. It reminded me a lot of when Uruguay got knocked out at the hands of Ghana, and South Korea went through with Portugal in the Men's World Cup not long ago. And on that final match day, the split screen of both teams, one team celebrating, one team in heartbreak and in despair, is quite a cool spectacle. And it's cruel. It's really cruel because it's probably one of the worst moments in a lot of those players' lives, right? Especially Korea, right? Who played for Germany. So it's cruel that it's all front and center, and you have the juxtaposition of the team going through ahead of you, celebrating and being happy. But football's a cruel game, man. Football is a cruel, cruel game, and you can't script things, and you can't script the Morocco getting smacked 6-0 by Germany in the opening match day of the group anyway, and then going on to win 1-0 twice. In the next two games in dramatic circumstances and getting through. It's an amazing spectacle, an amazing kind of way of things falling, and it is producing, I should say, an incredible knockout stage. Obviously, half the knockout stages have happened already, half the round of 16, a quarter of the other half will happen tonight, and tomorrow night will be the other half. So I think we'll come back before the semis, I think. So the semis are on the 16th and the 15th. The semis are on the 16th and the 15th. So we will have semi-final predictions. I'll give my predictions for the rest of the remaining games. But yeah, we'll give my semi-final predictions next week, which will be good, and obviously we'll wrap up the final the week after. As that's on the 20th, which is on the Sunday. Beautiful, lovely stuff. Obviously, Spain beat Switzerland 5-1. Quite, I wouldn't say an expected win, but probably not in the manner in which they were able to do it. Though it was obviously quite comfortable. It was 1-1 after an own goal in the 10th minute, but yeah, they just stormed away. Netherlands 2-0 over South Africa. Once again, expected result, maybe expected winner, expected result, depending on who you ask. Japan beating Norway 3-1. That game seemed quite 50-50 to me. And when I watched it as well, it seemed like Japan probably had more of the ball. Probably Norway looked quite dangerous on the counter attack. They were able to find space quite like out wide, I should say. I haven't spoken about football in a while. You could probably tell, right? They were able to find a space out wide in behind the wing backs of the Japanese defense. So it's quite a weird game, but can't take anything away from Japan. They scored quite early on. They scored. It was an own goal, but they scored quite early on. Norway responded, and Japan just chipped away, and got the result. Which you can't really fault them for that. But before we speak on Matildas, I want to finish on the Matildas. I want to speak on two more things. I want to speak on firstly what I want to speak on, because I feel like this is underrated, right? The goal that was scored, like, I don't know if people have seen this. If you haven't seen it, go and seek it out. But it was in the Panama game. It was in the final group stage game that Panama played. Where is it? No, it wasn't. It was the final group stage game, wasn't it? It would have to have been. Yeah. They lost 6-3 to France. The free kick scored in the opening minute by Marta Cox is, I would say, one of the best goals I have ever seen. Like that, I cannot believe it. Like 3 minutes in to a game that's a dead rubber for Panama. Panama couldn't get through even if they had won, right? I don't think anyway. Yeah, Panama couldn't have got through it even if they'd won. And 3 minutes in, Marta Cox steps up and scores one of the best goals I have ever seen. Full stop. You can speak about any permutation surrounding that. It is one of the best goals I have ever seen. Full stop. There is a behind camera shot or a behind angle shot where you can see the ball start like in the middle of the goal and just curve back to absolute perfection from 40 yards out. No keeper in the world saves that. No keeper in the world saves that. That is ridiculously good. Like, and it goes to show the magic of the World Cup, right? Dead rubber. Panama can't get through. The Panama players are just playing to for completion's sake, right? Nothing to play for, but there's still a moment that will go down in not only Master Cox's legacy, but in Panama football legacy, in Women's World Cup legacy as well. Like, that is one of the best goals you'll ever see at any World Cup, full stop. Like, and it just set the stage for a dramatic game, obviously finishing 6-3. France got the win in the end, but it's a microcosm of just how insane this tournament is. Insane. Insane. Insane this tournament has been and will continue to be. Just mental, completely mental. But seek that goal out if you haven't. Seek that goal out if you haven't, because it was mental, like absolutely mental. If I could bring it up, I would, but I think I'd get copyright struck on YouTube, so I'll refrain. One of the best goals you'll ever see. Unreal free kick from like 50 yards out as well. Insane. Anyways, I just want to speak about that because a lot of people question the quality of women's football naturally, right? Because it's an easy punching bag. It's a very easy punching bag. But when you are seeing goals like that, when you're seeing goals that, like, I think Lauren James has scored bangers this tournament. Fucking bangers. I mean, when you look at, it's a great segue, but when you look at what Hayley Raso was able to do against Canada, that first goal in particular was sensational. Mate, the quality's really good. The quality's exceptional. Like, it's unreal. Anyways, and that's a good segue. Let's speak about Matilda, shall we? Let's speak about our girls. It's a big, big day. Australia, Denmark, Stadium Australia. 8:30, it's kicking off in just under 5 hours at the time of recording. You guys obviously know the result. Let's speak on the game against Canada. I was quite vocal about our underperformance in the game against Nigeria. Quite vocal. And I was very upset at the tactics, very angry at what Gustafsson was doing and not playing to the strengths of what I think is an extremely talented team. That game obviously saw quite a few changes. No Mary Fowler, right? Probably the big one, especially in the attacking third. But what we saw in the Canada game was something completely different. Like, it was exceptional. Caitlin Ford moves to the left. You drop Courtney Vine. You play Mary Fowler and Van Egmond as like two number 10s / two number 9s. It was a centre forward striker. They would float in between. Gori Cooney cross in the middle, then Hayley Raso on the right was exceptional. But I think the catalyst, I genuinely think the catalyst, while Mary Fowler was great, obviously scored the goal to put us, 3-0 ahead? Yeah, 3-0 up. Yeah. Scored a goal 3-0 up after half-time and basically sealed the game. I think what made that game and I think this goes to show the tactical fluidity of the Matildas and also being able to play to our team's strengths, right? Obviously, this is being filmed before the Denmark game, but moving Caitlin Ford to the left to partner up with her club teammate, with her Arsenal teammate, I should say, Steph Catley on that left-hand side, provided such a, I wouldn't even say fresh dynamic, because it's a dynamic that we've seen quite a few times before for the Matildas, and we've seen it for Arsenal how many times, right? But it was just like it was like a light bulb moment. Not even light bulb moment. It was like we got splashed with cold water. It was like, oh my god, these girls are so good together. Like Catley and Ford on that left hand side, just let them do what they need to do, because their partnership, their subconscious link together is so good, and it provided a completely new dynamic on that left hand side, which not only allowed us to have success on that left hand side, but it drew defenders across. It put all the focus of Canada to that left hand side, allows the likes of Mary Fowler, Hayley Raso, who had a breakout game and is now a national hero. Van Egmond as well was still very solid. And that double pivot of Cooney cross. And Gori, especially in the attacking third, was really good. So I think while Ford didn't get on the score sheet, obviously Catley did with a penalty in the last minute, I thought that provided a completely new dimension for us. And it was a very pleasing result. Very pleasing result. And as I quickly write down a note for me so I don't forget what I want to say. Very pleasing result for us girls, and it was a weird game because football isn't appreciated. Right, football isn't appreciated at the best of times in this country, right? And let alone women's football, right? Naturally, because it is what it is. It shouldn't be the way that it is, but it is. So, yeah, football isn't appreciated at the best of times, let alone women's football. And to see the whole nation get behind the Matildas on last Monday and get behind, and not only get behind them, but feel the nerves, feel the excitement, feel the pressure on that game. And I think the Matildas thrived under that. I really think they did. I really thought, you know what? I thought they approached the game in a way of the whole nation's on us. The whole nation needs us to perform. The whole nation is expecting us to perform. Let's go out there and perform. And pressure makes diamonds. And when you have a diamond on the right-hand side, like with Hayley Razzo, it goes to show the mental strength of this Matildas team, because they could have easily folded. Could have easily folded under the pressure. Too much. Home World Cup. Probably expected to go through. Canada are a good team with very good talent, especially in that final third. And obviously Australia had been having issues defensively in the Nigeria game and offensively, especially in the Ireland game. They have talent all across the park, but we were expected to win. I was really proud of the way that they performed, especially from minute one. From minute one, obviously Razzo with the goal within the first 10 minutes. And it was a dramatic, like, idyllic day of football. Out of a movie. Like, literally out of a movie. And it was so pleasing to see. So, massive tick for the Matildas in that game. Really, really happy with how they performed. This fluid, engaging, entertaining, intricate, kind of like instinctive-based football that for some reason we hadn't played in the first two games. Was it a thing of Tony going to the girls and be like, you know what, fuck it, shit's hit the fan, just play football? Or is this kind of part of the plan? Who knows? I guess we'll see, right? Again, tonight against Denmark, we'll see. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it's more of the same. And I look at this Denmark game and I think, okay, Denmark, I don't know much about them. I'm going to be completely honest, I don't know much about them. They're obviously talented, right? They won two of their group games, lost to England 1-0, which isn't something to be laughed at. I mean, England are a very good team, right? Obviously, so it's going to be really interesting. I really hope we win, and it's going to provide. It's going to be a very interesting game at Stadium Australia. Can I just say quickly? 2 seconds as I write notes. I'm producing live. You're going to have to get used to this. Whilst I record, because I'm producing now. Normally I would just record and do all this stuff later, but I'm helping editing Ari. Anyways, what I wanted to say, two more things as we finish up on the Matildas. Yeah, come on. I really hope the Matildas win. I think we will win. Does Sam Kerr play? Who knows? Who knows whether or not Sam Kerr plays? Mark Schwarzer is very, very concerned about her fitness. He doesn't think that she's ready. I think they said the third game week, the third match day, didn't feature at all against Canada. Didn't even come on off the bench. Probably a good thing that we had the game wrapped up, so we didn't need her. I think you have to play her. I think what you do is you drop Van Egmond, move Fowler into the 10 and play Kerr up front, and keep Ford on the left, keep Razzo on the right, and that's what you do. That's what you do. I don't see any way around it. You keep the defence the same. It was pretty good. Carpenter on the right hand side was very good. Obviously, the centre half pairing has been good, and keep double pivot as well. Double pivot doesn't need to change in the slightest. Cooney Cross and what's her name, Gorry, very good. Very good. Don't need to change a double pivot. So yeah, that would be the only change I'd make. I think Van Egmond is also a yellow card away from missing the quarters. I also think Caitlin Ford is as well. So whether or not you want to move Fowler to the wing and then play Van Egmond in a 10 and move Kerr up front. Who knows? Probably wouldn't want to do that if you could avoid it. I think the yellow card limit resets after this game. So Van Egmond forward, and I think it might have been. I think it's one of the scenarios. It's either Alana Kennedy or Claire Hunt. I think it might be Claire Hunt. But don't quote me on that. So yeah, that's what I will do in terms of team. Should win, expected to win, and if we win, we verse France or Morocco, and that's going to be interesting, really interesting. But who knows? Hey, who knows? But yeah, that's all. Yeah, that's what I want to speak about in terms of I finish up the Matildas. Okay, what I wanted to speak about now. Is okay. I think the last 8 games that the Matildas and the Socceroos have played in Melbourne have been in competitive fixtures have been wins. We saw the atmosphere that was present at Amy Park in the game against Canada. We saw the comments made by some of the players after the game saying it was the loudest that they've ever experienced, especially at this World Cup. Why on earth does Melbourne, and Melbourne Rectangular Stadium in particular, not get more Socceroos or Matildas games? And Matildas games even. It is quite clearly, it's arguably, at its peak, arguably the best pure football stadium in the country when it's pumping, when the atmosphere is electric, when the football's good. And the Matildas have shown nothing but the ability to get the absolute best out of the Melbourne crowd, and the Socceroos, especially in the qualifiers that they had in Melbourne, showed nothing less than getting the absolute best out of the Melbourne crowd. Melbourne's probably the heartland of football in Australia, and it might be a little bit biased being a Melburnian, but I don't even think there's a Women's World Cup game played in Melbourne after the round of 16. That is a criminal offence. Absolutely criminal. Like, you cannot. That is completely unjust, completely unfair, especially considering what the Matildas said post that game against Canada. We saw how much the atmosphere helped the girls in that game, and we saw it act like a 12th man. That's what it was, right? You cannot underestimate the ability of a crowd to will a team over the line, and I think you have to kind of sit back and think. You have to sit back and be like, how do Melbourne not get more international games? I think it's really annoying as a Melburnian personally, but there you go. I just wanted to comment on that. So yeah, there you go. Before we move on, and before I give my preview of the knockout stage, I want to speak on the USA. Is this not the funniest? Bear with. Was that not the funniest way any team has gone out in a competition ever? Like, forget about it being the USA, which makes it 10 times funnier considering how cocky they were before the tournament. Is that not simultaneously the most cruel and hilarious way to get knocked out of a World Cup ever? Like, it was literal millimeters, under a millimeter. Firstly, what made it even more insane was the fact it was one of the best penalty shootouts I'd ever seen from the 5th penalty before the 5th penalty. It was one of the worst penalty shootouts I'd ever seen from the 5th penalty to the 9th penalty. And then it was the most dramatic penalty shootout I've ever seen when it comes to the last penalty. It was mental, absolutely mental. The whole penalty shootout was insane, and the whole drama behind it was even more insane. Also, how's Megan Rapinoe's weird reaction to missing that penalty? She has this odd arrogance, really odd arrogance that rubs a lot of people up the wrong way. Why are you smiling after scoring a penalty in a World Cup round of 16 game that ended up costing your nation a place in the quarterfinals and potentially a shot to win the tournament? Strange, really strange. But yeah, unreal. So funny. So funny. Also really cruel. But also the fact that it's America makes it this much more funny. Much more funny. Times more funny, I should say. But anyway, let's finish things up the Women's World Cup talk with previewing the rest of the tournament. May as well, considering we're here. I'll go all the way through to the final because why not? And like I'm just gonna give predictions because I want to keep this podcast brief, but I speak a lot, so I've got a lot of talking points to get through. Spain versus Netherlands. I really like Spain's team. I think Spain are in the box seat in my opinion. I'm gonna go Spain 2-0. Beat Netherlands and get through the semi-final. Japan, Sweden. I like Sweden. I like Sweden a lot. I think Sweden are very good. I'm going to go Sweden. Actually, no. Sweden struggled against the US, man. They struggled. You know what? I'm going to go Sweden on pens again. I feel like Sweden are going to have this narrative. They're going to win on pens twice, and then the semi-final is going to be interesting. Spain versus Sweden in the semi. It will go to extra time, but I think Spain will win. And then our bracket of the round of 16. Australia, Denmark, the Matildas will win 2-0. France, Morocco. Morocco's story has been unreal. Morocco's story has been exceptional. So good. I think it's a bridge too far, though. I think France is going to be too good. I'm going to go France 1-0. England, Nigeria. I think England are very good. I'm going to go England 2-0. Colombia, Jamaica. Really, really good. The vibes in this game is going to be exceptional. The vibes are going to be unreal. I'm going to go Colombia 2-0. No, 2-1. 2-1. I think Jamaica will pip a goal. Actually, Jamaica don't concede, though. Jamaica don't concede. All right, I'm going to go Colombia 1-0. Colombia 1-0. Australia, France. I'll back the Matildas in. France have looked good, though. France have looked good, obviously. They topped their group unbeaten, didn't they? Oh, no, they obviously they did Jamaica. But we beat them before the tournament, so... I'm going to go Australia 1-0. Just like the friendly was pre-tournament. So we go through the semis, and I think England are going to be too good for Colombia. We'll go England 3-1. That leaves Australia versus England in the semis. As much as I would love our Matildas to get it done, England look really good. And they are really good. Head says England, heart says Matildas. I'm not gonna predict. It's gonna be England or Australia versus Spain in the final. That's what it's gonna be. England or Spain. No, England or Australia versus Spain in the final. And if the Matildas make the final, we win it. If Matildas make the final, we win it. No doubt in my mind. So, anyways, let's move on. Let's move on to another talking point, or let's move on from away from the Women's World Cup. Let's go into Premier League predictions. The Premier League season is back. Can you believe it? Get around it. The Premier League's back. How good. So, I'll give my predictions very briefly. I'm not going to speak on every team. I'm not going to do this whole what bullshit I did last year where I sat here for an hour and a half speaking about Bournemouth's formation, speaking about the players that Fulham brought in. As much as I love doing that, and there will be a time and place where I nerd the fuck out and speak about the asymmetrical midfield diamond that Bournemouth implemented away against Sheffield United on Boxing Day, because that's something I'll probably do. Let's go superficial look. I've got my predictions up. I've got my ladder predictions up. So I will show it up for people on YouTube, they can see it, and then I'll obviously explain it all out for people on audio, and I'll give a brief kind of synopsis of my list. So, without further ado, those watching on YouTube, here is my Premier League predictions. And for those on audio, I shall tell you now. From 20th to 1st. In the three relegation spots, I've got Sheffield United, Luton Town, and Nottingham Forest. In 17th to 11th, I've got Everton, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Fulham, Crystal Palace, and Brentford. 10th to 7th, I've got Burnley, Brighton, Aston Villa, Newcastle. 6th to 6 and 5, I've got Chelsea in 6th, Tottenham in 5th. I've got Arsenal in 4th, Manchester United in 3rd, Liverpool in 2nd, and Manchester City in top. Give a quick reasoning for brackets, I should say. So, I think Okay, I think. Okay, what? Okay, yeah. So how do I explain this? How do I explain my thought process in a way? I think the relegation three. I think they're confirmed down for two reasons. I think Sheffield United squad is abhorrent. That Sheffield United squad is absolutely abhorrent. Like with all due respect, because I really like Sheffield United. I liked what they did under Chris Wilder back a couple of seasons ago. But if we bring up their squad, and this is the squad that's on FOTMob, so forgive me if there's any kind of players that aren't here or are here. When we look at their team, their goalkeepers don't inspire me at all. Their defenders are very similar to what they've had the last time they went down. Egan, Bogle, or Boogle, Basham, Baldock. Doesn't really fill me with a lot. Their midfield, Berg, Norwood, and Fleck. That's it. And Koulibaly and a player who I don't know. And then their forwards are McBurney, Brewster. And they're the only ones that I know. I know just because I don't know them doesn't mean that they're bad, but I just don't. Doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence. Sheffield United down. Luton, similar vein. I think they're down. I don't think their squad's up to it. I think they've reinforced enough. Forest, I really like what they did last year. I'm really happy they stuck by Steve Cooper, but I just feel like it's a bridge too far. I feel like second season syndrome will hit. The lack of good investment. They've invested, not well though. The lack of good investment will come back to bite them, and yeah, it's going to be really interesting. It's going to be really interesting to see how they go from here. I've got Everton. I've got Everton in 16th. Now, in 17th, sorry. I've got Everton in 17th. And Everton are so weird because under Sean Dyche, one or two things could happen. Sean Dyche could do what he did with Burnley that one season and just catapult Everton back to the top 7, top 8. And all of a sudden, the relegation fodder years, it seems like a decade ago. Or they could just linger back around that relegation scrap and do what Sunderland did for like quite a while ago, where they just survived, and then they crashed and burned and finished really low down and got relegated and weren't able to recover. I don't think Everton will go down, but I don't think their season's going to be any good. I don't think they've invested well. I don't think the overall atmosphere around the club is suited to a team that, with their backs against the wall, needs a good, consistent game style and fluid, or good, consistent game style that gets some results. I like Sean Dyche. I don't see them going down, but it's going to be tight. Like, it's going to be last day things. Like, it's going to be like the last couple of years where they survive just by the absolute skin of their teeth. That's what I think anyway. Wolves, anyway, moving on. 16th, Wolves, Bournemouth and West Ham, I think all fit in the same category of them just being average. I like Bournemouth's team. I like the reinvestment that they've got, and I think their new manager will come in and do well. I don't know a lot about him at all, so I'm not going to pretend I do, but I think their investment's going to... I just think they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine. Fulham, Palace, Brentford, I think are teams that are going to be good but will struggle just slightly. Brentford with no Tony for 6 months, that's going to hurt them. Palace don't have a recognised striker, which is going to hurt them, or a good recognised striker anyway, despite the talents of Elise and Eze, who one of them might leave. Both of them might leave, who knows. But I really like them, but obviously those two can't win you consistent football games. And Roy Hodgson is about 10 minutes away from death, so we'll see whether or not that eventuates. And Fulham, I just think a little bit of second season syndrome with them as well. I just think they'll be fine. Burnley, I think, will be really good, and I didn't watch a lot of Championship last year, granted, but I think Burnley are a team that will just be good. I just think Burnley are a team that will just be good, fun to watch under company. I really like their 1-2 punch up front with Bear with me here as I get up their squad. I don't want to butcher their names. That's all. I really like their squad, especially in the attacking half. I like their 1-2 punch. Up front, Obafemi I think is really good. That two strike formation that they played in the Championship last year, I think was very good. I also think they've invested quite well. I like Company as a manager. Yeah, I like Burnley. I like Burnley a lot. Brighton Villa. So I think Brighton, Villa, Newcastle. are going to fill that 7, 8, 9 spot. This is kind of my take, right? This is kind of my take. I think this season is going to be normal. And by normal, I mean the top 6 will finish in the top 6, so spoiler. The top 6 will finish in the top 6. The bottom 3 will be the bottom 3 that everyone kind of expects. Yeah, we might see an Everton teeter along relegation, but I don't really think that's a surprise anymore. I think the FA Cup will be United versus Liverpool, or City versus Chelsea, or City versus Tottenham, whatever. The League Cup, similar. I think we've had... Last year was mental with a lot of things that happened. I think this year we'll just return back to normality for the most part, and it's going to be, quite frankly, a pretty boring year, in my opinion. I don't know, I just get this vibe when it comes to upsets. Yeah, you'll get upsets. Yeah, Luton might beat Tottenham away from home, who knows. But I think the top 6 will finish in the top 6. The bottom 3 will be relatively kind of predictable. The Cup winners will be predictable. The Champions League winners will be predictable. The Europa League winners will be predictable. And I think it's going to be a season where everything just kind of returns back to what it's expected to happen. So that's why I think Bournemouth... Oh, that's why I think Villa... That's why I think... Sorry, where am I going here? Here am I going? That's why I think Brighton, Villa and Newcastle will fill that 7, 8, 9 range, because I think they are the best of the rest. I think they definitely have the capability of pushing up into that top 6 and finishing the top 4. I don't think it's going to do it for them. I think Newcastle's Champions League ventures will hurt them. I think Villa's Conference League ventures will hurt them, as well as I think Brighton are in Europe as well. Yeah, they are. So I think that will hurt their ability to get into the top 6. But I don't see anyone else being better than them to the point where they finish above them. So I don't see Brentford being better than Brighton, Villa or Newcastle across the year to finish above them. I don't see Palace being better than those two teams over the course of the season to finish above them. I don't see Fulham, West Ham, Bournemouth down being better than them to finish above them. So yeah, that's what I believe in that respect. When we go to the top 6, this is what I mean by when I think it's going to be a pretty predictable season. I think the top 6 are going to be... The top 6 is going to be normal, and I've got reasoning behind all of my placings, right? Chelsea are going to finish 6th because it's going to take a year for Poch to implement his game style. We have quite a injury-riddled team. Our midfield's not good enough as it stands, and I feel like it's going to take a while. We might have a good cup run. We might do well in the FA Cup. But I don't see us finishing... I don't see us cracking into the top 4. To be blatantly honest, I don't see Chelsea finishing in the top 4. I don't see the team being good enough consistently, right? Across the year. Spurs will finish 5th because I really like Ange Postecoglou, but I don't... I really like Ange Postecoglou, but I don't see the squad being good enough for him to get the best... For the squad to get the best out of Ange. I think it's going to be the squad at fault, not Ange. Arsenal will finish 4th because Champions League football, don't think their squad's good enough. I don't think they've got to recognise... I don't think their striker position's good enough. Jesus isn't a 25-goal-a-year striker. Havertz isn't a 25-goal-a-year striker. And if you want to be good in the league and in the cup, or in continental competitions, you need a 25-goal plus... a 25-goal plus striker or per season striker, and I don't think Jesus or Havertz are that. I really like Timber as a signing, but I don't think their defense was the issue last year. I think their attack was. So I like Martinelli and Saka, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. United will finish 3rd. I really like Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag's building. I think Ten Hag is just building. There's still a couple of gaps in that squad. There's still a couple of areas where I think that squad can improve, but I think it's exceptional. Like I think that what they're building is exceptional. So I think it's just going to be a year where they finished 4th last year. 4th last year, was it? Was it 4th? Or did they finish 3rd? Do I have them stagnating? Gee, I've forgotten the league table already. It's only taken 3 weeks. Yeah, so they finished 3rd last year, but I think it's going to be an improvement. I think they're going to be far more consistent. You're not going to see United lose 7-0 to Liverpool. You're not going to see United lose 4-0 to Brentford. You're just going to see a very consistent, very balanced United team that is going to finish 3rd and is just going to be ticking along nicely. I really like the midfield of Mount, Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes. Mount leaving Chelsea hurts me to my soul. But no, yeah, I just think it's going to be ticking along nicely. Liverpool in 2nd, I think they're going to return back to their old ways. I think it took them a year. Last year was their refresher year. Nunes is going to hit the ground running. Jakpo is going to hit the ground running. Jota's going to hit the ground running again after a kind of not underwhelming season, but an injury-riddled season last year. I like McAllister as a signing. I like Sabolazai as a signing. Yeah, the defence needs a little bit of work, in my opinion, probably barring the first two defenders. Their depth kind of decreases quite quickly. But I think they'll be good. I think they'll be good, and I think they're going to return to just how good they are. I think they're going to make Anfield a fortress once again. And City top, because City are the best, and their squad's ridiculous. Their squad's ridiculous. Yeah, their depth maybe isn't that good, but they're going to sign 3 players in the last 10 days of the transfer window and win the league again comfortably, in my opinion. Their defence is the best defence in Europe by a country mile. Absolute country mile. I don't see a world in which... absolute country mile. Absolute country mile. Signing Gvardiol... can you even say anything at this stage? Just stupid. So yeah, they're my Premier League predictions. Rattling off again from bottom to top: Sheffield United, Luton Town, Nottingham Forest round out the bottom 3. Everton, Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham, Fulham, Palace, Brentford round out the bottom half of the table. Burnley, Brighton, Villa, Newcastle round out 10th to 7th. Chelsea, Tottenham fill the Europa League places. Arsenal, United, Liverpool fill out the 2nd to 4th. And the league winners, Manchester City, once again, shock horror. Let's, what else we're going to speak about? Let's speak on Golden Boot. Okay, I know this podcast is going to be teetering on the hour mark. I apologise. Golden Boot will be... There's a lot. Salah's definitely within a shout. Salah's within a shout. If Kane stays, I feel like Kane is definitely within a shout. I think he will fit Ange's system quite well. Haaland, obviously, naturally. I feel like maybe someone offbeat. I feel like, you know what, Alexander Isak as a smoky Golden Boot chance, I don't mind it, especially if he is their Premier League striker, if that makes sense. Like, if he's the one that they prioritise for Premier League games in comparison to Champions League games, I feel like he could be a very, very big smoky for the Golden Boot. Because I really like the way he plays. He can play out for the left, can play out front. He's strong, he's quick, agile, brilliant first touch, brilliant technique, and he's a ruthless finisher as well. Alexander Isak, smoky Golden Boot, because I think Newcastle will be pretty consistent across the board this season. So while I won't go with him, while it'll probably be Haaland, boring as it is, I would love to see Nunes win it. I think it'd be great crack. I think it'd be great crack. I feel like it's Kane, Haaland, Nunes, Salah, Isak, no one from Chelsea, United, Rashford maybe, Alvarez I think is a good shout. I think Gakpo could be a good shout. From Villa, Watkins maybe, Brighton probably not, and then I don't see anyone lower down the table. If Tony was playing a full season, maybe, but obviously he's not, so we'll also have to wait and see. Oh, it's really interesting because I think it depends on how teams perform. If we look at my predictions again, it would tend to me saying Haaland again, or it would tend to me saying someone like a Rashford because United do quite well, or a Liverpool player. Gun to my head, I will say Haaland again, just because it's the obvious choice. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's a smoky like Isak, or I think Salah just wins it again because he's just that good. Young player of the season. You know what? Young player of the season, I'm going to go with Nicholas Jackson from Chelsea. From what I've seen this season of him, he has been electrifying for us. He scored, I don't know how many goals he scored in pre-season, but it's a few, right? It's a few. He's what? He can't be that. He's 22, so he's still eligible, I think. Let me just double check. Premier League Young Player of the Year. Foden won it last year. Foden won it last year. And Foden's 23. Yeah, Jackson can win it. So for Young Player of the Year, I reckon Nicholas Jackson is within a big shout. He has been electrifying for Chelsea in the pre-season. He's a player that has a big mantle to fill, considering that Chelsea don't really have any other recognised number 9s apart from him. yeah, I just think he's been superb so far in pre-season. And I feel like he's a little bit of a smoky. Definitely a little bit of a smoky. Everyone will go to the obvious choices. But I think if Chelsea are going to have any success this season, they're going to need a proper number 9 to start banging in goals. And if Nicholas Jackson can continue the form he's been having in the pre-season, I don't see any reason why it can't be him. Definitely not. I think he's been exceptional. So yeah, I'll go with Nicholas Jackson for Young Player of the Year. What else do I need to speak on? What else is in my talking points? Manager of the Year. Manager of the Year. Should I just say Ange? Yeah, fuck it. Manager of the Year, Ange Postecoglou. Why not? I can definitely see Tottenham finishing top 4. I've got them 5th. I'll be conservative. I've got them 5th. But yeah, why not? Ange top 4. Fuck it. Who cares? It would be really good if Ange went to Manager of the Year. Maybe if Tottenham... Tottenham finished 5th. Actually, no, because then he'll be bottlers and then he'll be... I was going to say Tottenham finished 5th and then the League Cup and FA Cup final losses. But then he'll be tarnished with that being a bottler brush and I really don't want that for him. So, yeah, Ange Manager of the Year. Why not? Why not? Bear with. Yeah, so yeah, there you go. That's what I've got for that. Yeah, that's all for the Premier League prediction. So yeah, there you go. I'm sure that's going to be quite interesting to look back on in a year's time. Didn't do that well last year, but I guess it is just one of those things, hey. What else are we going to speak on? It's 50 minutes. Did I just cut this episode short? I was going to speak about the Championship. The Championship's back. Leicester won. Just QPR got spanked 4-0. Australia Cup is back, so I'm sure I'll be touching on the local football once it ramps back up again. But yeah, Australia Cup was back last night. Australia Cup was back last night. Wasn't it? It was, wasn't it? I'm almost certain it was. Or was it? Oh, it would have been Sunday or Saturday, right? Am I going blind? Can I not see? Oh no! Am I lying to everyone? I'm almost convinced I'm not lying to anyone. Australian A-League. I'm convinced. I'm convinced. Yeah, no, it's back. Yeah, because Victory lost. Yeah, Victory lost on pens. Yeah. Yeah, Victory lost on pens. That was quite funny. So yeah, Victory out. Shock horror. But yeah, no, it's back. It was back over the weekend. It was on Friday night. Friday and Wednesday. Yeah. It was on Friday night. That's what it was. Sydney United won, so good on them. Cram Croatia lost. Wellington just scraped past Peninsula Power with a full-strength theme, which is very funny. But yeah, back on Wednesday night. Get down to your local football. Support the Australia Cup. It is the purest form of football you're ever going to see. So there's vibes. There's vibes. Football vibes. Entertainment vibes. You can go down and it's elite. It's elite stuff. Do it. It's really good. Whether it's fucking Goulburn, Valley Suns or Heidelberg, get down. Get down to your local. Support local. And finishing things up, I was going to speak about Spurs introducing a drummer, but go look at that on Twitter. It's very funny. Community Shield went to pens. Yeah, and Arsenal won. Good on them. 11 minutes of stoppage time. And they scored in the 90th minute. 90 plus 11. So there you go. But I spoke about the Women's World Cup for ages. And I spoke about Premier League predictions for ages. So there you go. But yeah, I think that's enough. 53 minutes. I don't want to be sitting here. I could just slowly sift through all my talking points, but I'd be here for too long and I don't want to do that. I want to try to keep these short. So I really want to keep these short this season. So yeah, there you go. Thank you all very much for watching another episode of the 2 Footed Tackle podcast. I've been your host, Ari Stamatakos. Make sure you do all the things I did at the start. Said at the start of the episode. Follow, subscribe, like, share would mean the world. All the audio platforms as well: Spotify, Anchor, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcast. All the relevant links are in the description of YouTube. Socials: 2 Footed Tackle podcast on Twitter and Instagram. 2 Footed Tackle podcast on TikTok and Instagram. 2FTPod on Twitter. Linktree link in both the bios of Twitter and Instagram for all your 2 Footed Tackle podcast needs. See you next week. With the start of the Premier League season, we're back. We are back. Holy shit. See you guys next time as I quickly change scenes so I can outro this. See you guys next time. Goodbye. Nope, we're not doing this, are we?
Oh, the music stopped. Okay, I will riff the outro. This has been a catastrophe. I'll riff the outro. Goodbye, guys. See ya. Oh my god.